Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining Mann Travels this afternoon. I am so excited to have back with us today our friend and travel partner, Barry Johnston, with Viking Cruises. He is here to tell us about a new travel opportunity that's brewing in a couple of years. We are going to talk about some Great Lakes expedition cruising. And even though we can't travel right now, we still want to dream about it. And that's why we're here. We're hoping that this presentation today will help inspire you to keep on dreaming and keep us in mind. So Barry Johnston, take it away.
Thanks so much, Billy. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're all healthy and safe, and we look forward to having you travel with us in the future, hopefully sooner rather than later. Hopefully we'll be back to normal quicker than as quick as we all hope, right? So I wanted to talk about a product that's been on sale for a little bit. It's our Great Lakes. We're going to be visiting the Great Lakes. We put this product on sale in January of this year. And obviously the image you see on the screen now, that is not the Great Lakes. That is the polar caps. The two ships that we are building purposefully to sail the polar caps, we will be bringing them to the Great Lakes in the off seasons. So that's why this screen image shows you Viking Expedition and the polar caps there. And I'll touch on those at the very end, just in case you're interested in our polar expedition cruising on these same exact ships. But I want to focus really on the 4 itineraries that we have for the Great Lakes region, when we'll be sailing those, and then cover the ship itself. So let's jump right in. It is about journeys to the ends of the earth and closer to home. Here at Viking, the expedition market has grown greatly over the last 3 to 4 years with new lines entering that realm, and Viking has chosen to do that too. So we have 2 new purposefully built ships, 378 passengers, built to do the polar caps. But as a company like us with Viking, it shows our ingenuity. When our operations team was pondering where we could take the ships in the off seasons, because the polar caps are some of the harshest environments on the planet, obviously, and there's only certain times of year you can sail either polar cap. It was, what do we do with these ships in the off season when they aren't able to sail in the polar caps? And we looked for an under cruised spot on the earth, and we settled on the Great Lakes. So all the way back to the design of these vessels, we were purposefully thinking about bringing them to the Great Lakes in the off season. Currently, in any given year, there's about 10,000 to 12,000 passengers that are sailing the Great Lakes on the passenger cruise lines that are offered there. Our product is going to be outstanding. It's going to be everything that you think about and know about and love with Viking to the Great Lakes region. So that includes a tour in every port of call, complimentary Wi-Fi, beer and wine and soft drinks during lunch and dinner, all of those great things that you expect from Viking. If you've traveled with us before, you know those things. If you haven't traveled with us, you've heard friends, family, seen our commercials and talked about the Viking experience. So we're going to be bringing that to the Great Lakes, and we will be visiting all 5 of the Great Lakes. We have 4 itineraries, and I'll cover those for you. And this is an artist rendering, but it shows you one of our Viking expedition ships and how it has purposefully been designed to fit through the Whelan locks there in Ontario, Canada, near Niagara Falls, and through the other locks along the lakes. So it is all designed from the very beginning to sail not only the polar caps, but also this Great Lakes region. So let's jump right into the itineraries. So this is our Canadian Discovery. It is a repositioning cruise. Our Great Lakes cruising will start in April of 2022. That's the first time frame we'll be doing a repositioning cruise. One of our ships will be moving from the Antarctic up north and then sailing from New York to Toronto on a 13-day itinerary. We'll do this same exact itinerary in reverse in the fall. So in that early October time frame, we'll do a second repositioning cruise as our ship leaves the Great Lake region. So this particular itinerary, this 13-day, will only be offered twice in 2022. It gives you a great overview, starting in New York, heading to Nova Scotia and Halifax, Prince Edward Island, into Quebec, visiting Quebec City, entering Lake Ontario, and overnighting in Toronto. And Toronto itself, of course, is a beautiful city. It is one of the it is the fourth largest city in North America, only behind New York, LA, and Mexico City. So great international city, a lot of ethnicity there, lots of wonderful things to see and do. So it's wonderful that that 13-day has an overnight. After we finish that 13-day that 13-day repositioning cruise, we'll sail the first of our 8-day itineraries. And these 8-day itineraries will operate on a back-to-back-to-back basis throughout May, June, July, August, and September of 2022. So Toronto to Milwaukee, Niagara and the Great Lakes will leave Toronto, sail across Lake Ontario, visit Niagara Falls, into Lake Erie, visit Detroit, into Lake Huron, visiting Mackinac Island, to Traverse City, into Lake Michigan, and to Milwaukee. So we'll disembark passengers there in Milwaukee on the 8th day of this itinerary, load on new passengers, and begin our next itinerary. And you'll notice that all of these itineraries begin in one country and end in the other. So we'll be going back and forth from the US to Canada, or Canada to the US. The next itinerary is the Great Lakes Explorer, Milwaukee to Thunder Bay. These are some areas that you may not know much about concerning Ontario and Canada, but beautiful along the lakes here, great small cities and larger cities to visit. So this one will start in Milwaukee, head to Mackinac Island, into Lake Huron, into Georgian Bay, visiting Parry Sound, Killarney, Little Current, through the Sioux Locks, and into Lake Superior, ending at Thunder Bay, where we'll have an overnight. And the overnight there is in Thunder Bay, of course, in Canada. So we'll disembark passengers, embark new passengers, and sail back to Milwaukee on an itinerary that we're calling Undiscovered Great Lakes. This will go from Thunder Bay, with an overnight there to begin with, into Duluth, the Apostle Islands of Wisconsin, which is Bayfield, Houghton, Michigan, through the Sioux Locks, into Lake Huron to visit Mackinac Island, into Lake Michigan to visit Milwaukee. And then we'll start it all over again. We'll go from Milwaukee to Toronto in the reverse direction of that first 8-day that we talked about. So these 3 8-day itineraries we'll be doing over and over again through the summer. You may choose to do back-to-back. We will have passengers that will do that. They may choose to do 2 different ones to see more of the Great Lakes. That's certainly an option. Your Mann travel advisor can cover all of the details on that for you. Mackinac Island is the only port that's duplicated if you were to choose to do back-to-back. But Mackinac Island has so many wonderful things to see and do. So you won't mind visiting it again. So let's talk about the ship. This is an artist rendering of the vessel. So the vessel has 378 passenger capacity. Again, built specifically for the polar cap. So it has a polar class hull, polar class 6. This artist rendering shows it in Toronto. So Toronto is a beautiful, gorgeous city with the CN Tower there, which I've actually been to the top of. I've actually visited Toronto. It is a wonderful city, lots of great sports and parks and wonderful things to see and do there. So let's talk about the ship and how the Octantis and the Polaris will be different in sailing with us. Now, many of the artists in renderings I'm going to show here are going to show the polar caps in the background, but these, again, are the same ships that will be sailing the Great Lakes. If you've cruised with us on our Viking Ocean product before, this is going to have a very familiar feel to it. We're very much with that philosophy. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And our ocean ships get rave reviews. This is our atrium section on deck 1. This was where our guest services will be. You'll enter and exit the ship in most cases from here. There are a few exceptions that we'll talk about. So this is where you're coming on board and off board. And our guest service staff will help you with anything you'd like to do on board during your stay, any additional excursions that you might want to add on during the Great Lakes region, all of that stuff. So there will be an included tour on every port of call on the Great Lakes. We have a wonderful theater section of the ship. It's on deck 2. We call it the aula. And the aula has a unique feature that I can show you. You'll see better in the next image. But we have some scientific experts on board with us. We'll continue with the Viking tradition of doing lectures about the region, the geography, the history of the area you're sailing through. Will be cinema films that we'll show in this area, both educational as well as entertainment films, and that will all be done here in the aula. This aula, the theater, features a unique ability for this screen that you see showing penguins to rotate up to the ceiling, and then windows behind it will give you beautiful views of the area that our lecturer, our topic that we've just seen a film on, is in real life. And here, again, this is an artist rendering of the polar caps, but it shows the rear of the vessel where we do have a wonderful, nice leisure area called the Fensa Terrace, and you can look into the aula. You see the aula there with the screen now rotated up to the top of the ceiling, the curtains all raised. But this cinema section of the aula will be utilized throughout your itinerary for entertainment purposes as well as educational purposes. We have the Explorer's Lounge on deck 4 and deck 5. This is at the bow of the ship, floor to ceiling windows. We use Scandinavian design elements on board Viking, so it's all about bringing light indoors and bringing the forest indoors, bringing wood elements. So you see wood in the floor and touches on the furniture, on the background for the bar area, but very much that Scandinavian bringing light and wood indoors. The living room, deck 5, if you're familiar with our ocean vessels or our ocean vessels, feature this living room section, which is a wonderful place to just relax, grab a drink, talk about your day that you've experienced with new friends, old friends, if you're traveling with a fellow couple that may join you. About half of our passengers do travel with friends or family. We will have an indoor-outdoor pool. It'll be utilized in both the Great Lakes region and also in the polar regions when it allows. So this is our Aquavit Terrace, something that we've utilized on our river vessels, our ocean vessels, and now on the expedition, Octantis and Polaris. So this features windows that can open. We can make this more open air, or we can enclose it depending on the climate of the day, what the weather is like out there. Now this artist rendering does show the Great Lakes region, and you can see how this might be utilized. So an indoor-outdoor pool, we can again make this Aquavit Terrace and the sun deck a little more open by opening those doors, or we can enclose them if the climate, the weather would be for that. So we have the sun lounge area here. The pool will be heated, so just be aware that we can, in the warmer months, July, June, August in the Great Lakes, we may not need to heat it, but it is heating capable if we do need to do so. We have a spa on board. So the Nordic Spa has a thermal suite. This is included for you, no additional cost to use the thermal suite. So the Norwegian pattern of opening and closing the pores by exposing yourself to warmer and colder situations is available here in the Nordic Spa. We will have treatments available too. Those will be an additional cost, but we can do massages and other spa treatments in the spa area. There'll be a fitness center that is included too. The Expedition Central is deck 2. So you see this, at this moment, it is orientated for our polar cruises, but this will change upon the region that we're traveling in. So when we're in the Great Lakes, the map on the wall will feature the Great Lakes. This is where you'll talk to our onboard staff about the excursions that you'd like to do, both the one included tour in every port of call and any optional excursions that you would like to add on. Expedition Central also has a classroom space that we can utilize for photography classes or other workshops. It could be a cooking demonstration or some type of demonstration that's taking place here in Expedition Central. So you may want to bring your own camera, and we will have our expert on board teach you how to better utilize your camera and take pictures of the beautiful scenery along the Great Lakes. Now, the hangar area of the ship, obviously built for our expedition voyages, but we will be utilizing some of this space and some of the features here on the Great Lakes. You can see a couple different things in this image. There is a side door for the hangar and a rear door for the hangar. So this vessel features almost like a military amphibious vessel. It has a rear doorway that will open. And these rib vessels, the rib that you see, the two lined up here back to back heading towards that back door, will flow down back into the sea or the lake. We have Zodiacs on board, and we do have two 6-person submersibles on board. You see one of those hanging from the ceiling. Our operations team is quite excited about the submersibles and some optional excursions that will be available for them in the Great Lakes region. There are quite a few shipwrecks, historical shipwrecks in the Great Lake region that we feel like we'll be able to dive on. So those could be optional excursions that we're in the works to get the permitting for to do that now. So that'll be very exciting. But we also have kayaks on board, the Zodiacs, the rib vessels. We'll be utilizing these for different types of excursions that will be available in the Great Lakes, but also using them on a daily basis in the polar regions. We do have a laboratory on board, so even in the Great Lakes area, we will have researchers on board performing some experiments and research on the Great Lake region, but also utilizing the space in the polar caps too. So these are our research partners that will be utilizing that lab space, and we'll have some lectures that will take place throughout the cruise from those scientists that are on board doing their studies. Let's go through the staterooms now. So several different staterooms for you. Really, the first thing I'd like to highlight is, obviously in the polar caps, a veranda, an actual walkout balcony would not be utilized very often. So we will be taking these to a warmer climb during the Great Lakes, but this portion, the Nordic balcony is what we're calling, is going to be what you'll utilize in both both types of cruising, expedition or Great Lakes cruising, and it moves the seating space for the cabin to the window. And this window will open from top to halfway. So you see that white bar across halfway, the window will lower. So you can make your cabin open air. So that you don't have a walkout veranda, you do have the ability to lower that window when you're traveling through the Great Lakes or on the polar caps too, to open up your cabin to the air outdoors. This is our introductory Nordic balcony stateroom, 222 square feet. This is the lean-in category. And you can see how the seating has been orientated towards that window. We have a world-class ocean bathroom stateroom that our passengers love, rated very highly. We're utilizing the exact same design on the expedition vessel. So this is an actual image. This is not an artist rendering. This is one of the restrooms on our current ocean vessels, and we will be copying this design in the bathroom. So this is what your bathroom will look like inside your Nordic balcony stateroom. We also have a deluxe Nordic balcony stateroom, and just like our ocean product, if you sailed with us before, there are a set of different amenities that come with each cabin upgrade. So you'll want to look at those with your travel advisor at Mann Travels to find out what is the best fit for you, what are the pros and cons price-wise versus benefits that you receive by upgrading through the stateroom categories. We have our Nordic penthouse, 269 square feet. You see a little larger window, more sitting space there in front of the window. Our Nordic Junior Suite, 322 square feet. Again, even larger window, more space there. Our Explorer Suite and our Owner Suite are our two top final categories. We have a few of the Explorer Suites on board, 580 square feet. These do feature a full walkout veranda, a separate bedroom area, and a sitting dining area that you see here in this artist rendering. And then you can see that sliding door to the rear left of the image. That's where you would walk out onto the actual walkout veranda for the Explorer Suites. And then finally, the Owner Suite, the largest cabin on board. We just have one of these. It's 1,206 square feet, has a full walkout veranda that features a whirlpool hot tub. So a really nice feature for those who are in this area. If you're traveling with friends and family, you can entertain here in this space. All of our cabins on board, our expedition vessels, are just for 2 people. We don't offer triples or quads, and we are 18 plus, just like all of the other Viking product. Restaurant, multiple sitting areas, different types of tables too, from 4 to 6 to 10, so you can sit in larger spaces. Manfredi's Italian is a specialty restaurant, all included in the price, no additional cost to dine at Manfredi's. Fresh pastas and wonderful Tuscan steaks here in this region, in this area. The World Cafe features all-day service, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks throughout the day here, including, you can see gelato, wonderful food here. And around the corner from the World Cafe is Momsen's Scandinavian Deli. This is taken also from our ocean vessels. A big hit on those vessels. We'll be bringing it to this space too. It'll have wonderful waffles in the morning, savory sandwiches, soups in the afternoon, desserts throughout the day, with a Scandinavian tilt to them. I did want to show, since we've talked about these vessels and sailing the polar itineraries, just quickly the polar itineraries that we're offering, just so that you'll be familiar with them in case you decide, now that we've got your interest peaked in this brand new vessel. We do have these on sale for the Antarctic and in the Arctic for 2022. We have a 13-day Antarctic Explorer that will go from Ushuaia across Drake's Passage and along the Antarctica Peninsula and back to Ushuaia. We have a 13-day Arctic adventure that goes to the northern polar cap from Tromsø, Norway, north to Svalbard, which is a part of Norway, and cruising through this and up across the Arctic Circle and into the polar ice cap. This is our owner. If you don't know, we are family owned. This is our owner, Mr. Torsten Hagen, and one of our senior vice presidents, Karina Hagen, his daughter. They actually visited Svalbard this past summer, so this was the summer of 2019, to get a feel for what it would be like for our passengers when they sail Svalbard with Viking. So it's beautiful, beautiful. If you're not familiar with Svalbard, it is a beautiful island and gorgeous scenery, unlike any space on Earth. And you may get to see some of the locals too. The locals there are 3,000 of these beautiful polar bears around Svalbard. So we will position the ship as best as we can so that we can see a polar bear. We can't guarantee it, but we'll do our best. And finally, we do have a repositioning cruise that we'll be doing. It's a 44-day itinerary. If you choose to do the entire itinerary, this will go from Tromsø down to the Antarctic and to Ushuaia. This will be sold in a couple of different segments too. So if you do not want to do the entire 44-day, your Mann Travels travel advisor can price out different segments for you. We have a 13-day that's Tromsø to Cork. We have a transatlantic here from Cork down to Rio, and then from a last segment that would be Rio to Ushuaia. And why Viking expeditions? Why the Viking difference? We've touched on all of this throughout our presentation today. We have a tradition of exploration that goes back to Viking times. Our owner, Mr. Hagen, is a Viking heritage, and exploration is part of his family. He has a great-great-grandfather that was an expedition cruiser cruising up into the Arctic. So partnership with experts, expedition experiences. We are the Thinking Person's Cruise, our unique Nordic balcony staterooms and suites, the best dining at sea, and great service are all things that we're going to bring to you on board these cruises. So we hope to see you on board one of our Great Lakes cruises or our Expedition Polar Cap cruises on Viking expeditions. So I'll turn it back over to you, Billy.
Thank you so much, Barry. Thank you for your time this afternoon, Barry, especially. It was a great presentation. I'd also like to thank everybody who took time out of their day today to join us and dream with us. If you do have a personal travel advisor here at Mann Travels, please reach out to them via their email. We also can be reached at vacations@manntravels.com. If you have any questions, we also have a website where all of our presentations will be, and we have a 1-800 number. So let's dream together of when we can travel again. Thank you so much and have a great day.